Parliamentary polls and plans to increase the power of the president. Turkey's ruling party faces its biggest challenge yet. But what else is at stake in a nation where Europe and Asia collide? This is Inside Story. Hello, I'm Martine Dennis. Welcome to this special edition of Inside Story, focusing on Turkey's pivotal parliamentary polls. Elections in which the ruling Justice and Development, or AK party, is seeking a fourth successive term in office. But it's also being billed as a last-ditch opportunity for opposition groups to mount a now-or-never challenge. All the while, the shadow of Turkey's powerful president is hanging over proceedings. Recep Tayyip Erdogan is hoping the AK party will win a strong enough majority to change the constitution, allowing him to strengthen his presidential powers. Now, it's a contentious issue, but there's a lot more at stake. Polls have found that the most significant issue for voters is the economy, closely followed by unemployment. Then there's the Kurdish question and their campaign for more rights. And the broader issue of the constitution, with both main parties promising to change a charter drawn up by military leaders in 1982. Jamal El-Shayal has this report for Inside Story from Istanbul.
Prime Minister Ahmet Davutoglu has been on the campaign trail for weeks, meeting voters across Turkey in the run-up to what many expect to be significant elections. His party, the AKP, is widely predicted to win, but the question is, by how much? The past 2 years have been tough on the AKP. The economy has hit some road bumps, they've been accused of anti-democratic practices, and there have been allegations of corruption. Most of that criticism, though, has been directed at Recep Tayyip Erdogan, the former prime minister who was elected president last summer, allowing for Davutoglu to take office.
This is the first time in over 10 years that the AK party will be contesting general elections without Recep Tayyip Erdogan. The main man in this vote is Ahmet Davutoglu, the country's former foreign minister and the current PM. The party is hoping that a win in this election will prove that people vote for them based on their policies and not based on personalities.
We caught up with him on his campaign bus to find out what the main challenges he believes his party faces.
There are many expectations from the people. Because of the success story, the life standards and expectations are today in Turkey is much higher than 2002. And we are increasing these standards to another level. When we came to power, our per capita income was around $2,700, now $10,400.
There are people who say that the party is based on personalities and not on policies. What do you say to those people?
Our party is a party of ideals, ideas, and targets. In that sense, we have many skillful candidates, skillful leaders of the party.
It's not only Erdogan who's absent from these elections. 73 of the AKP's most experienced politicians will also not be running. That's allowed for many new faces to emerge, especially from its youth and female ranks. Some 95 candidates are below the age of 40, and there are a record 99 women running for parliament. Among them is Fatma Noor.
There are many more young and female candidates contesting in these elections compared to the previous years. This has really energized our campaign.
Turkish society has historically created icons, from the country's founding father Mustafa Kemal Atatürk to current President Erdogan. Whether these elections will further the legacy of one man, create a legacy for another, or strengthen its democracy. Jamal El-Shayal, Al Jazeera, Istanbul.
Now, before we bring in our guests, I just want to run through all the main contenders in this election. As we've heard, the Conservative AK party has ruled Turkey since 2002. The former Foreign Minister, Ahmet Davutoglu, became party leader in August when Recep Tayyip Erdogan was elected president. The Republican People's Party, or CHP, is Turkey's oldest party, established by the founder of modern-day Turkey, Mustafa Kemal Atatürk. That was in 1923. Left-leaning and secularist, it's now led by Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu. The far-right Nationalist Movement Party has been led by Devlet Bahçeli for almost 20 years now. It has no traditional stronghold but has support in all major cities. And this year sees the People's Democratic Party contesting the polls for the first time, representing minorities, particularly the Kurds. Drawn from formerly independent candidates, it will need at least 10% of the vote to enter parliament under Turkish law. And its success or otherwise is likely to have significant implications. OK, let's bring in our panel now. Joining us from Istanbul is Ali Çakolu, who is a political scientist and professor of international relations at Koç University. In Ankara, we have Özgür Özdamar, who's professor of international relations at Bilkent University and director of Fortuna Consulting. And completing our lineup in Siirt is Yasin Akte, who's vice chairman of the AK party in charge of foreign affairs. Welcome to you all, gentlemen. Can I start with you, Ali, first of all? This is meant to be a parliamentary election, isn't it? So why is this election being seen then as a referendum on the rule of President Erdogan?
Well, President Erdogan is actually participating in the campaign and making arguments for or against different parties and arguing that a constitutional change is necessary and also arguing that specifically presidential system is needed in the country. And by so doing, he's actually calling a referendum, as you say. If people support the AK party, I think this will be taken as a signal that people are buying into this argument that the opposition is not worthy of supporting, and plus the AK party should have the lead to undertake all the necessary changes to bring about a presidential system. And
Yasin Akte in Siirt, as a member of the AK party, the president is supposed to be above party politics, isn't he? He's not supposed to be involved in campaigning or electioneering for these elections.
Yes, supposedly he should be known to the parties, is all the parties, but from the beginning when he was elected and supported by the party. And he declared from the beginning that he will be a different president, and he is the first one who elected. And since he is the first one who elected, and he has the opportunity to show a unique presidential figure or profile, and he is now trying to show or open the new gate for new politics based on presidential elections or the president joining the system. It is the first time, and it's the first example that we are now facing in this system. And he is the first time who is opening this way for the Turkish politics. Now, I think from now on, just to remind that the presidents in Turkey, formerly or in the past, have never been neutral.
Let me take that point and put it to Özgür in Ankara. So, really, where is the controversy then? If President Erdogan is wading into these elections, because as your colleague was saying from Siirt, he was saying that this is quite usual and that presidents have never really been above the political fray. They've always been partisan.
I'll disagree with that commentary, actually. The Turkish presidents in the past were neutral to varying degrees. Of course, there were some of them who actually chose to support their previous party, but none of the presidents in the past has done it so openly. And President Erdogan is quite honest about this. And he says that until now, all the presidents were elected by the parliamentary vote, but I am the first president to be elected by the popular vote, so I am still in active politics. And he refuses to be a symbolic president like in parliamentary systems. And he has actually quite honestly put together the necessary steps for Turkey to transition to a presidential system. And he is actively campaigning for this. and he actually has been asking for about 400 MPs from people of Turkey so that the constitution would be changed by AK Party MPs in the parliament in an easier way. Therefore, I think this is his political preference, and he's going to pursue this even after this election.
Okay, Ali, in Istanbul, how is that resonating then with the Turkish people? The fact that President Erdogan wants to gain enough of a majority in these parliamentary elections in order to change the constitution, to change the system by which Turkey is governed. How is this being viewed by the people of Turkey?
All the research that I'm aware of shows, first of all, that people don't know much about presidential system at large. They are not in full grasp of what it takes to run a presidential system. And despite the fact that the knowledge is low, you still have the majority of the people against a presidential system. The lower informed voters appear to be more supportive, but as the level of knowledge increases, we find that people's support for a presidential system actually declines. So it would take quite an effort on the part of AK Party to actually first inform the larger masses in Turkey about the system they have in mind. And secondly, after informing, they need to convince people that this is a better system than what we have.
But presumably with more than a two-thirds majority, a referendum won't need to be held. The constitution will just be able to be changed without consulting the public again. And that, of course, is what the AK Party is going for. That's what it wants.
Yes, precisely. But that all depends. It all depends on how the outcome of the election will shape up. It looks like if the 10% threshold is surpassed by 4 rather than 3 parties, that might be a bit difficult to guarantee.
OK, let's go to Özgür now in Ankara and explain for us, if you will, the threshold system in Turkey and explain, if you can, the reason why there are so many parties registered but so few with an actual chance of getting representation in Parliament.
Well, it goes back to 1970s and 80s. 1970s were very destabilized, unstable years for Turkey. And in 1980, there was a coup d'etat. And the military government, the junta government, ordered some university professors to write a new constitution. And what they asked in this pre-ordered constitution was to care about stability more than fairness in the elections. Therefore, when this constitution was passed in 1982, this 10% threshold was introduced, and anybody who gets less than 10% cannot even have one MP in the parliament. And all the MPs that they would normally get, these small parties, are distributed to the winning 2 or 3 big parties. So in a way, this is a very stable system, but on the other hand, it is a very unfair system.
Which brings
that actually make people to question the democraticness of the Turkish system.
OK, but that does bring us, doesn't it, to the current rather strong contenders. They're being viewed as having a one-off opportunity to reach that 10% mark. And we're talking about the HDP party. Tell us about them, because they are rooted, aren't they, in the Kurdish cause. But how are they planning to appeal to a wider, broader section of Turkish society?
Sure, that's a very interesting story. Actually, they were established in 1990s as a small ethnic party, a little bit like the Scottish National Party, for example, in England. But for years, they actually struggled against this 10% threshold, and their vote would vary between 4 to 6%. But everything has changed with this resolution process, which is actually introduced by AK Party, the ongoing negotiations between the government and the armed Kurdish organization called PKK. And after the armed struggle has been ceased for a while, the HDP has also become more normalized. And after the presidential election success last summer in 2014, the HDP for the first time dares to enter the parliament as a whole party. Before, what they did was, because of this 10% electoral threshold, what they did was they nominated independent candidates, and they could achieve around 35 MPs every election. But right now, if they pass the electoral threshold, 10% this Sunday, they'll get about somewhere between 50 to 70 MPs. So they'll double their MPs. And they depend on this peaceful political environment in Turkey. And they right now place themselves to the left of the political spectrum, but not as an ethnic separatist party, but as a more like a socialist party, a little bit similar to the German Greens, for example.
Thank you for that. Can I go to Yasin now in CERT and move away from the issue of this executive presidency and talk a little bit more about the issues confronting everyday Turks? You've got a slowing economy, growth between 3% and 4%. You've got a devalued currency. You've got high unemployment. What is AK proposing to deal? How is AK proposing to deal with these issues, which at the end of the day have got to be uppermost in the minds of every Turkish voter?
Actually, these problems are not that much determining the results of the elections.
What will they be voting on then? What will Turks be voting on?
The majority of the people are now paying more importance to their preferences among the parties, not in terms of economy. Actually, it is very interesting. It is really, from my point of view, it is really surprising that the economy is not that much determinant. But it is determinant, but people are not believing in other countries to be alternative in managing the economy in Turkey, because there are many promises made by the opposition parties who promise too much irrationalist, from very irrationalist promises that, for example, they see we will increase the salaries, we will double the salaries, we will finish the unemployment. But people are asking what is your program? What is your and they are not that much trustable. I mean, they are not trusted because they are very fantastic in their promises. But AK Party or the Justice and Development Party, the ruling party now, is more confidential. It's more trusted in terms of what it can do or what it did before.
Okay. Ali in Istanbul, the stewardship of the AK Party by and large has been incredibly positive for many people in Turkey. Some are saying that this could be the last democratic election in Turkey, insofar as if the AK Party gets the majority it wants, that could take the country closer to much more autocratic rule.
I'm optimist that, no matter how the election is going to shape up, Turkish commitment to democracy will continue. There is no reason why we should expect Turkish democracy to stop functioning at this point. Obviously, there are authoritarian tendencies in Turkish politics, and that scares people a little bit. The debates concerning presidency have actually left a bad taste in people's minds. However, Turkish people, first of all, care about bread and butter issues. Many times, both the AK Party as well as the nationalists have tried to push the campaign a little bit to the values and especially conservative values and away from the economy. But I think the main opposition party have been successful in pulling the debate towards economic issues. I would agree that AKP still maintains some credibility on economic policy issues, but there is rising uneasiness about that. So all things considered, I think the 13 years of AK Party rule is slowly losing steam, and it needs to take this election seriously in its results and reformulate its policies.
Okay.
Otherwise, it looks like there's a slippery road.
Asgur in Ankara, so it sounds very much as though this does present a golden opportunity for the opposition parties, in particular the HDP, and then the leader, Selahattin Demirtas, another very charismatic figure, very similar, if you like, to President Erdogan, much younger though. What else do we know about him?
He's a law graduate. He has been a human rights lawyer, and he's been very active. He has become a national political figure in the last decade. He's a soft-spoken, charismatic leader, and I think in an interesting way he has introduced this more American-style, personality-based leadership to Turkish politics. A lot of people who plan to vote for him on Sunday actually does not approve his policies, or at least they don't approve his party's political past and their association with political violence, but they still say that, well, he's a nice guy, he's a likable leader, and he has performed very well during the campaign, so they will vote for him. So in an interesting way, the most Americanized election campaign has been done by the most eastern, has come from the most eastern and actually ethnicity-based party. That is a very interesting case for Turkish politics, and this may become more and more widespread in Turkish politics. We may see more candidates like Selahattin Demirtas. His message is quite peaceful. He is for the resolution process, the Kurdish opening process, which is introduced by the government, and he promises not to be associated with political violence in the future. And
okay.
He has one big election promise
Asgur.
that actually
Thank you.
appeals.
Yasin in Sirte. So this clearly is the man to beat. This is the man who's presenting the AK party with perhaps the greatest challenge for 13 years or so. How do you plan to beat him?
How I can plan to be what? Sorry?
How do you plan to beat him, or at least make sure that he doesn't get the 10% that he needs in order to get representation in Parliament?
Okay, thank you. Actually, the HDP now, the argumentation or the discourse of the HDP, especially in our region, in Sirte, in southeastern area, is very, very different. They talk very double speaking. They have a very double speaking discourse. And in the western part of Turkey, they are trying to show like a green party profile. They are trying to draw a green party profile. But in the west, in the eastern part, in my part, they are still playing the same role as they used to be, and in their association with the PKK organization.
Yasin, I have to jump in there. Thank you very much, Yasin Akte from Sirte. He's of the AK party, and Ali Çarkolu from Istanbul, and Özgür Özdamur in Ankara. Thank you all very much indeed. Thank you for helping us weave our way through the politics of Turkey. And thank you, as ever, for watching. We'd like to hear your thoughts. You can contact us on our programme page at aljazeera.com. You can also post your comments at facebook.com/AJ Inside Story, or you can always tweet us at AJ Inside Story. From me, Martine Dennis, and the whole team, it's bye for now.